Hello, welcome to this data analysis project. In this project we are going to cover all topics related to data analytics. First we are going to clean our data, create some new columns, transform our data. After we complete all of that, then we will be able to analyze our data. First I'm going to go through my dataset and analyze each column, and after that we are going to be creating pivot tables in order to understand our data better. And after we create those pivot tables, then we will be able to create our charts and slicers. Okay, first let's see our data. As you can see, this data set is related to sales. So basically we have some data related to customers. First column is customer ID, and also we have customer name, and then for each of these customers we have some important informations. So let's see. We have city, but as you can see, this column says city, but in this column we have basically city and country. So right now we are able to see that we will need to fix that. After that we have some domain column. We will talk about this later. Also the status. Also we're going to be changing that. Gender, what is also important for us. Income for that customer. Education, position, department. Some information about is it homeowner or not. Age. And some information related to purchase. For example, we have this purchase product column. It contains, if we click for example on this filter button here, and if we click on this little icon here, we'll be able to see that we have only no and yes in this column. Basically this means if it's yes, then our product is sold. If not, it wasn't. So that way we can understand if customer bought our product or not. And also in this last column, as you can see, for each of these that has yes in this purchase product column, then we have information about product which is sold. If it's not, we don't have any information. We will also need to fix that. So let's start working. Basically, first I would start from this first column. As you can see, we have customer ID, and let's check if we need to fix something. If I click on this, I'll be able to see my values. If I scroll down, I can see that we have only numbers. I don't see any text values or some other values. So basically this column is okay. I'm gonna keep this column. Next one is customer name. As you can see here, for this first customer here, first name is uppercase and last name is just normal. First letter is uppercase and rest of them are lowercase. So I'm gonna need to fix that first. Let me first remove this filter if I click on this, and let's add new column. Insert. And now I'm able to see my new column. In this column I'm gonna use function called proper. So let's see how it works. Let's type proper. It is this function here, open brackets, and now we need to provide text. In this case, it's this text here. If I close these brackets and press enter, I will be able to see my value here. Now if I click here 2 times, I will be able to fix all these values. Now I need to put all of these values here. So I'm gonna click Ctrl C to copy and right click here and paste value only. If I do that, I will be able to see my data. Now I can delete this column here, I don't need that. And now we successfully completed this first column. Next one is city. So what can we fix here? First, I will need to make 2 columns. First one will contain city and second one will contain country. So let's insert another column here. Let's insert one more just in case. So, in this first column, I'm gonna select all my data. I'm gonna go to this data tab and I'm gonna click on this text to columns option. Let's click on that. And now I will have these 2 options, delimited and fixed width. I'm gonna choose first one. Let's click next. And now I'm able to choose my delimiter. Right now tab is checked, but I'm gonna uncheck that and let me use comma. Because as you can see, city and country are separated with comma between them. So let's use that. I'm gonna click next and finish. And now we are able to see all these separated. Let's see if everything is properly completed. Let's scroll down. Yes, basically that's perfect. Now we don't need this column, I'm gonna remove it. I created it just in case, for example, if we had 2 commas, then instead of the data going into our existing column, just to be able to store it here. But as you can see, we don't have any situations like that, so I'm gonna remove this. So here I'm gonna type country. Country, press enter, and now we are able to see our country also. Let's resize this, and perfect. Now that we completed that, we are able to start working on this domain column. Let's insert new column. And in this column, I would like to create email address. Basically, we have first name, last name, and also this domain. And from these columns, from these values, I would like to create basically email address. So how can I do that? First, I will need to add another column here, and you will see in a moment why. I'm gonna copy this column, I'm gonna paste it here, and I'm gonna insert two more columns. Okay, and now let's select all our data in this second column that we created, not the first one. We will leave this column as it is, and let's select all data and click text to columns. I'm gonna leave this first option checked. Next. Instead of comma, this time we will be using space. And let's click next and finish. It seems like yes. I'm gonna need, because we have, as you can see, a few more spaces here, so let me see how can we fix that. So basically we'll need to add few more columns here. And let's now select our data. Text to columns, next. I'm gonna leave this space here, next, and then finish. And now we created our solution. So let's see what can we do now. Let's scroll down to see our data. Let's first check if we have some values in this last column here. Let's add some random names, 1, 2, 3, 4 for example. I'm gonna filter this and let's see if I have something. No, I don't have data, so I can remove this last column. Okay, perfect. Now let's click on this here, and now let me see, for example, we have some situations where we have, for example, in this case only first name, because basically this customer name contains companies and people. So for companies we don't have first and last name, we have just company name, and for some we have also these values here. So let's see how can we do that. Basically we can do something like this. We're going to insert another column and I'm gonna just join this one, and let's use this sign to join multiple cells. So I'm gonna use that, and also I'm gonna add space between. Also I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna add this cell, again this sign, space between those, also this, and the last one. If I press enter, I will have this value here. But if I click few more times, I will be able to see that I joined all these together in one column. Now we are able to work with this data. Basically I can just select this column, copy, paste values only. That way we are going to be removing that formula, and now I can delete all these columns. Let's delete them, and now we have, let's call this first name, and this one's last name. Okay, perfect. Now that we completed that, we can use those informations for our email column. So let's do that. Let's type equal, and what I would like to do, I would like to use lower function, lower, and let's click on first name. So if I just execute this function, let's see what will happen. We will have this first name, but just lowercase. So basically what I would like to do, I would like to join this first name. So let's use this sign again. This is for joining. Then I'm gonna put, let's put for example dot. It will be just separator between first and last name. And then use this sign for joining again. And now let's add this, but also don't forget before that to put also lower, just to be able to make it lowercase on this last name. So if I execute that, I'll be able to see this first part of my email address. Now we need to add @ sign. So let's see how can we do that. I'm gonna also add one more time that sign, and inside of these I'm gonna put this sign here, and if I press enter, now we are able to see these, but we have some space. That's because we have space at the end. So we need to do one more thing. Before lower, I'm gonna put trim function. This way we will be able to trim all spaces in our cell so we don't have them anymore. If I press enter, I'll be able to see that now we no longer have that space between. So what else we need to include? We need to include this domain. So I'm gonna add another sign, this one for joining, and again lower. And inside it will be this one here. If I press enter, let me resize this. Now we are almost done. We have first name, last name at Gmail. In this case will be Outlook and so on. And now we need to add one more thing. Let's add that sign and type .com. Now we are done. Basically now you can see how easy it is to join first name, last name and just some domain if you have some information about that. If I click 2 times here, I'll be able to see all my emails. That's perfect. Now let's copy this, paste here, paste as values. This way we will be able to remove our formula from column. Paste it here. That's perfect. Let's call this column email. Press enter and that's it. Now I'm gonna need to remove this first name and last name. I just created it for creating this mail, so we don't need them anymore. And now we have all our columns completed so far. So let's see what we can fix next. Next is this status here. And also we can talk about this gender. For both of these, situation is almost the same. I would like to replace this M with married and S with single. In this case, I would like to replace F with female and M with male. So let's see how can we do that. I'm gonna select values first in this status column. Now that I did that, also let me show you how I did this. Basically, just to select all values in this column, you can just press Ctrl, Shift and down arrow. That way you will be able to select all values from your column. So basically it's easy. You don't need to drag like this and something like that. So let's do that one more time. And now Ctrl F. If I click that, I will be able to basically find some value here in my column here. But I don't need just to find those values. I would like also to replace them. So for that we have this second window here. If I click that, I will be able to see this replace function. Here we need to provide 2 values. Find what. So what we need to replace and replace with what. So let's provide that. M. Instead of M, I'm gonna put married. Married. And let's click on this replace all. As you can see, it's all done. We made that many replacements. Click OK. And now we are able to see that we successfully completed that. Next, I would like to replace S with single. Single, replace all. And now we completed all these. Let's click close and let's see our data. We successfully completed that. As you can see, it's very easy. Let's click on this filter option. Let's see what data we have. We have only married and single. Perfect. I don't need this filter anymore. And now we will need to do the same for this gender column. Let's select our data. Let's press Ctrl F. Again, replace. And this time M I'm gonna replace with male. Replace all. And F I'm gonna replace with female. Female, replace all, and that's perfect. Let's click close, and now we are done also in this column here. It is very simple, as you can see. So let's continue further, and now I have this income column. As you can see, we have some values here. So basically, let me check for this value what is the data type for that. If I click on home, I'll be able to see that it is currency. So basically for me, everything is fine here. If I click on data, filter, again, see values, basically everything is perfect. So I'm gonna leave it as it is, so we can move on to next column. Next column will be this position. I'm gonna skip this education, it's also fine. So let's move on to this position column. In this position column, everything else is fine. I would just need to do one simple thing. I'm gonna select all data, Control F, and I'm gonna replace IT with informational with this informational technology. Let's click on replace and we successfully completed that. Let's click on close and that's perfect. Now let's do that one more time. I'm gonna do it for this HR. Control F, replace HR with human resources. Human resources, replace all, perfect. Close, and now we are done. Let's resize this. This department I'm gonna leave it as it is, and also for homeowner, I think I don't have anything to change here. Yes, it's just yes and no. And let's check this age column. What this column contains. Basically it contains only age, regular numbers, so it's fine for me. But I would like to create another column based on this age column. I'm gonna show you why. So let's insert a new column, and in this column I will be creating some conditions. It will be also nice for you to see how you can create those conditions. So we will have multiple conditions in this case. Basically the idea is just to separate these numbers, I would say in clusters. So basically if person is below 30, that person will belong to, let's say, junior. If person is between 30 and 40, it will be mid-year. And if person is above 40, it will be senior. So let's do that. Equal to, if. First, I'm gonna click on this cell here. And then, if this number here is less than this number, then it will be junior. Junior. Okay, perfect. If not, so what we will do if not? If not, we will add another if. And this time I will be also include this cell. If this cell is greater than 30, and now let's notice one thing. Now we need to add another condition. So for that purpose, here we are gonna be using AND function. And let's open that. Let's just type it with uppercase just to be easier to read. No, I'm not done with that. And so basically now we are able to see that this AND function allow us to create multiple conditions. So we created first one. It is above 30. Next one is if it's less than 40. So if this number is less than 40, I'm gonna close this for this AND function. And now this was this logical test part of function. I'm gonna type comma, and now if it's true, I'm gonna provide value mid-year. Okay, perfect. And if it's not, it will be another if. Basically, we could do without if. We could just provide value. For example, we could provide a senior, and if it's not meeting all of these conditions, it will be senior. But let's just in case put if. So if this value is greater than 50, I think not 40, then it will be senior. If it's false, then just do like this. I'm gonna leave blank. I'm gonna close this one, close one more time, close one more time. If I press enter, I will be able to see that this person is senior. Let's see for other persons. If I click 2 times here, now we are able to see that this person is senior, also this one, also this one, also this one. This one is medior, which is also correct. This one is also, and this one. Basically it's correct, but as you can see we have blanks here. And as you can see, all these values are, for example, in this case it's 30, it's 40, 40. So why is that so? It is because we just provided these exact values if it's above that. So basically this 40 is not included. In this case, if it's less than 30, so 30 is not included. In this case, if it's bigger than 30, also 30 is not included. So let's include those values here. Let me just put equal, or basically I would like to put equal here, and also let's put equal here. Let's see how it works now. Yes. If I just do it one more time, now we are able to see that now we have successfully completed all these values, because now we included all these numbers, even 40 and 30 and so on. So what is important for you to notice, that it's important to include all numbers that you would like to include, so don't forget to put sometimes greater than equal to, less than equal to, and so on. So when I completed that, I'm gonna, just as usual, I'm gonna copy this, I'm gonna paste it here, paste values only, so I'm gonna remove my formula, and that's perfect. For this one, let's put seniority, for example. Press enter, and that's perfect. Now we have only 2 more columns left. In this one we have just yes and no, and we don't need to touch anything here. And for the last one, I would like, for these no values, I would like to provide just no product or something like that. So just to have some information about that. So how can we do that? If we select all data here, let me just, I'm gonna go like this. Let's select all data. Okay, perfect. And now I'm gonna press Ctrl F again. I'm gonna replace, find what, find blank space, and I'm gonna replace it with, let's say, no product. For example, let's see if it will work. It will, and it's perfect. Okay, now we have all these informations in place. Now we have successfully completed that first part. It wasn't easy. We had some functions to create, but it wasn't that complicated. I hope that you learned something from this first part, and now we'll be working on that second part. Second part is basically creating pivot tables. So now we will need to create another sheet for that purpose. I'm gonna call it pivot, for example. Not like that, pivot. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna place my pivot tables here. So let's first see what we would like to analyze. For example, we can analyze city, country. We have also some important information about education, for example, about position, department. We have a lot of interesting information, but let's first create our pivot table. Let's press Ctrl A. This way we will be able to select all our data in our table. As you can see here, let me scroll. Yes. So if I click here, Ctrl A, I'm gonna select all my data. And now I'm gonna go to this Insert tab, and you will be able to see this pivot table option. If I click on that, first I will have this window opened in front of me. I will need to provide 2 values. First value is our data source. Basically, it's our range that we already selected. And next one is where we would like to place our pivot tables. So, is it new worksheet or basically this existing worksheet? I'm gonna click on this second one. And for location, let's go to this pivot table and let's place it, for example, here. So I provided second value. Also we have this first value. Let's press OK, and now we are able to see this pivot table field, but we don't have any metrics, any numbers for now. To get that, we will need to include some fields here. So, as you can see, we have 4 areas here. First one is for filters, second one is for columns, rows and values. So let's see how that works. If I use this city column, for example, if I place it here in rows, let's see what will happen. We have a list of our cities here, and we have each city in each row. So basically, if we place this here, now we will be able to see our cities like this in columns, because we placed it here. So we don't need that, we will keep this first option. Okay, city. And now, if you would like, for example, to see, let's see what we have. We have, for example, income. Let's see this income. I'm gonna place it in values. And now we will be able to see income for each of these cities. It's basically total income. You are able to see here it's summing. Sum of income. If I click here, value field settings, we'll be able to choose these aggregation functions. We could use count, average and so on, but this time we'll be using sum. Okay, perfect. Now that I showed you how to create pivot table, now I'm gonna replace this value with some other value. I'm gonna need, for example, to present, I don't need city, I will present, let's use this seniority, for example. Let's remove city. And now I'm able to see income for each of these seniority levels. It will be our first information. I could also format these. If I click on this, home, and press this one, and now I'll be able to see these values nicely. I'm gonna change this column name, income, press enter, and this will be seniority. Okay, perfect. Okay, now that we completed that first pivot table, I'm gonna copy that one. Let's copy, Control C, Control V, I'm gonna paste it here, and now I have second pivot table. Now I would just need to change my columns. Instead of this one, let's see what we can analyze. We can analyze, for example, this product. Let's include product, and let's exclude this one. And I'm gonna use this product. Instead of this, I'm gonna type product. Perfect. And let's also add another one. Let's see for this department. So I'm gonna copy this one also. Let's Control C. Let's paste it here. I'm gonna need to resize this. It doesn't have to be that wide. So instead of this, instead of this, I'm gonna put department. So let's present it like this, and perfect. Now we are able to see income for each department. And basically I'm thinking about this product, and it doesn't make sense to present income for each both products. So maybe I would like to change this, and basically I'm gonna do that. First, let me rename this department. And also for this one, let's see what else we would like to use. Maybe let's try, no, I'm gonna keep income, but let's try with education, and let's exclude this product. And education is perfect. I'm gonna keep it. Type education. Okay, perfect. And now let's add one more table. Let's paste it here, for example, and let's see what else we can use. I'm not gonna use this status and gender because I would like to create slicers based on them. So when we click on gender, we'll be able to see all these values, first for male and then for female and so on. So that's the reason why I'm not using them. The department we have already used. Homeowner we can also include in that slicers. And let's see, for this purchased product, I'm gonna remove this. Let's remove field. And now this will be purchased product. And now we have all these values here. Now, based on these pivot tables, I would like to create my charts that I would be using in my dashboard. So first let's add another page. This will be my dashboard. Okay, perfect. And now let's go back to this pivot tables tab. And now let's start working. I'm gonna click on this first table here. I'm gonna go to this insert tab. And I'm gonna click on this. I can click on any of these options, or I could use this recommended charts option. Let's just click on that. I will see what Excel is recommending to us. As you can see, we are able to see this bar chart here, but I don't want to use bar chart in this situation. I would like to use donut chart. Also, we can use pie chart, for example, but let's use donut chart. I'm gonna click on OK, and now I'm able to see my donut chart. This one will be, let's say, income by seniority. Okay, perfect. Now that we completed that, let's click also on this chart one more time. Let's go to this design and let's see what options we have for design. Maybe we can present something like this. Let's see, something like this. I like this option, so I'm gonna keep this one here. Let's press Ctrl X and let's go to this dashboard and let's paste it here. So basically we have first chart imported here. Next, let's go back to pivot table. Now this table is done. Let's move to the next one. Next one will be education. So let's click on that table, insert, recommended charts, and for this one we have also this bar chart option. Let's see what other options we have. We can also use this line chart, bar, area, scatter plot. Basically it's hard to use scatter plot for this purpose. Map, we don't have any geospatial data. Stock, maybe this one, I'm not sure. Surface, radar, this is maybe nice. Maybe we could use this one, for example. Let's try this one. Let's press Ctrl X. Let's go to this dashboard sheet, paste it here, Ctrl Z. Let's place it here. Okay, perfect. Now let's go to this design tab and let's see what options we have to present this one. Let's use this option, for example. I don't need to see these values. Now we're gonna go back to this pivot sheet and later we're gonna modify these charts. So this second table is also done, and now let's go to this department table. Let's click on Insert, Recommended Charts. This time I'm gonna be using this bar chart. It's actually a nice chart for this situation. Let's cut this chart. Let's paste it here. You know, we are also able to see this chart here. Let me just see what is the name. This one is department and the previous one is education. And let's, for this one, okay, perfect. Let's go back to this pivot sheet and the last one will be this one here. So let's click on that, insert, chart. So let's see which one we could use. Line chart is not great for this situation. Let's use donut chart. Why not? Let's cut this. Paste it here. Condition. Let's put something like that. And now we have all our charts in this sheet. Let me just close that. And now I'm gonna need to first, let's click on this minus here, just to zoom out a little bit. And now I'm gonna first create my header here. How I'm gonna do that? It will be something like this. So in this home tab, let's use color for that. For example, let's use this blue. And now I'm gonna also merge all of these. I'm gonna align them left. And let's start typing. Basically it will be, let's call it sales dashboard. Okay, great. Now we have our header. Next, I would like to include those slicers. I already mentioned that my idea is to include them for gender and status. Let me go to this insert tab and I'm gonna click on this slicer, insert slicer, and now I will be able to choose my column. First is gender. Let's use gender. If I click on this, I will be able to see my gender slicer. So if I click on male, I'll be filtering this chart. If I click on female, I will be also filtering this chart. But for me it's not enough. I would like to filter all these charts. So how can we do that? We can go to this slicer tab, if you click on slicer, and you will be able to see these report connections. As you can see, only one table is checked. You will need to check all of these tables that you are using. Click OK. Now if you click on that filter, you will be able to filter all your tables. Okay, perfect. Now let's resize this, and I'm gonna need to insert one more slicer. Let's go to insert, slicer, and this time I will be using this status. Okay, perfect. Let's place it here below. If I click on single, I'll be able also to filter only one chart. So I would need to do the same like I did for previous one. Let's click on that. Let's check our tables. Okay, and now we are able to filter all these tables. That's perfect. Now we also have our slicers. Let me first just change this background. I'm gonna put white color, or let's put maybe gray, something like that. Now let's rearrange those. I'm gonna put the slicers here. Also, let's place this here. Also this one here. And those two I will be putting above these two. But first let me see if I hover over. I'll be able to see some details about the chart. So I don't need this legend. So let's remove this, and let's remove this legend also. And let's click on design, and I'm gonna choose the same style like I did for this one here. Let's resize now this one. Let's place it here, and also for this one let's place it here. Okay, perfect. As you can see, if I could, let me remove this just to make it okay, bigger. Perfect. I don't need this one. Okay, perfect. Now let's also modify these two. If I click, for example, on this one, maybe let me find some other one. This looks nice. And let's, for this one, choose something else. Let's choose, for example, this option here. I don't need these values. If I hover over, I will be able to see values for each of these. Let's also delete this. And I don't need this here. So I will be able to see bigger values. Now as you can see here, I'm not able to see each of these departments, so I will need to make this chart bigger. Okay, now it's much better. And now for this one, Ctrl Z, okay. And now for this one, I'm gonna place it here. I'm gonna make this bigger. And that should be it. Now we have just some simple dashboard. Design is not important in this case. It's just demonstration how we can analyze our data. First clean the data, transform it, and then we can import that in these pivot tables, and then as you can see we can analyze it deeply with those slicers. Also, what is important to mention, this structure that we created is completely dynamic. So those pivot tables are dynamic, so if we add new data here, we'll be able to include the data in all these pivot tables, and it will be automatically imported in these dashboards here. What you will need to change if you add some rows, for example, you will need, if you have, for example, something like that, if you add more rows here at the bottom, you will need in these pivot tables, if you click on this pivot table analyze, let's click on this change data source. And now you will be able to select your new data. So basically, as you can see, we select the last row is 1027, and this value represents number of values that you currently have. So as you can see, that is this number here. That is how you can update your data and your pivot table so you can present it in your dashboard. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.